start. Ready? Hey! Uniform personnel, present. Huh!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early the so very sweet day, and twilight who was strong and bright star through the perilous fight, for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and rockets made clear, ribbons nesting in air, they proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave for the land of the free and love of the brave.
Order! Huh! Ready? Hey! Bagpiper, by your command. Forward! Huh!
Would you please join me in a moment of silence for one of our heroes that recently passed away, went to be with the Lord. I'm referring to Chief Roger Marin. Just have 10 seconds of silence, please. If you could remove your hats, it would be great. Almighty God, thank you for bringing us together this day as we remember a night for veterans and honoring all who served. Bless and protect all of our people. We honor the peacemaking sacrifices of all of our service members throughout our nation's history, and especially our honorees, our highly decorated veterans, are recipients of the Bronze Star, Purple, and Purple Heart medals. Roger Marin, Aaron Siebert, and James Gallardi. God continue to bless them. Lord, continue to inspire us to worthy causes and sound decisions. Guide us on the path of unity and harmony. We ask you to give us the courage to humble ourselves as a nation under God, to pray and to seek your face, and turn away from our wicked ways. Then you will hear us from heaven and forgive our sins and heal our land. Lastly, bless or we remember Chair and President Mike Terry and his wife Nancy and committee for their arduous work in making this event possible. We also ask your blessing on our firemen, our police, our EMs, military, and our Boy Scouts, and everyone here for their unconditional support to help our veterans. We will never forget our veterans or their sacrifice. In your holy name, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Take the bottle with you.
So yeah, I saw my advice are,
So today we honor and pay gratitude to those who have served our country. There are approximately 159,000 veterans living in the Inland Empire. The Inland Empire ranks 10th nationally for its veteran population. We estimate that there's hundreds of veterans and their families living on the streets of the Inland Empire. We estimate that another 16,000 veterans are on the brink of homelessness, meaning they're one paycheck away from being in the streets. Now, I'm just going to touch a little bit on some of the barriers our veterans face here in the Inland Empire. You know, they face lack of affordable housing, right? Rent's extremely expensive. An average studio apartment costs $850, yet the average income of one of our veterans coming into one of our programs is $100. So there's no way they can keep a roof over their head. The unemployment rate among our veterans is 11%. 72% of our vets are dealing with mental illness such as combat trauma and PTSD. 61% of our vets are dealing with medical issues such as TBI, or traumatic brain injury. Now, I always like to put this in. Our vets that are homeless are not dealing with addiction. Or excuse me, I should say addiction is not the cause of them being homeless. The addiction is a byproduct of them self-medicating and or coping and living in the streets. So as a result, they develop an addiction. So let me give you an idea. We got a veteran who came out. He comes and lives with his family, and he's there with his family. He served, he's a combat veteran, but he's got all this craziness going in his head. He did some things that morally, as a man, he could not do if he wasn't in the military. So now it's bugging the crap out of him, just, excuse me for that. I was going to say something different, but it's bugging the crap out of him, right? So what happens? He starts drinking to self-medicate to so that he can go to sleep. But in that process, he becomes irritable. His family starts getting on him. He starts burning the bridge with the family. So what happens? He gets into domestic violence. He might drive drunk. He gets a DUI. Finally, the family has enough. They say, you're out. They kick him out. Then he goes with family and friends, couch surfing, and then eventually they kick him out. It takes a year and a half for these veterans to hit the streets. And these are the type of veterans that we're serving. Now, U.S. Vets is a nonprofit that started in 1992. We have 14 sites throughout the country, including the territory of Guam and the District of Columbia. Now, our mission is the successful transition of military veterans and their families through the provision of housing, counseling, career development, and comprehensive support. U.S. Vets has been providing services here in the United States since 2003. We actually provide over 540 permanent housing units at any given time. For Riverside County, we have 303 permanent housing units. San Bernardino County, we have 239. We operate 2 residential programs, a community service center, and 11 scattered sites throughout the Inland Empire. Now, I want to say, we're not a drug and alcohol program. We are a back-to-work program. If a vet's capable of working, we're going to give them the skills, and we're going to get them back to work. So our housing programs, we provide emergency housing, supportive permanent housing for disabled veterans. We provide low-income affordable housing, rapid rehousing, and homeless prevention. This was an accomplishment in 2016, and we could not do it without your support. We served 1,120 individuals last year. I like to say we kept 1,100 individuals from living in the streets of the Inland Empire, including 381 children. So when a veteran comes to us, we have a permanent housing placement rate of 95%. Our capacity rate is 92%. That's tremendous. That means we have a waiting list. The reason why it dropped is because a veteran moves into permanent housing. We're waiting for that next veteran to come in, and we have to get them qualified, so that takes time. But 92% capacity rate is a tremendous achievement. Now, we also have our job placement is 72%. Now, we think that's impressive because our vets that we're working with have legal issues, DUIs, and so many of them it's difficult to get back to work, but we have a 72% job placement rate. Now, you guys tonight are partnering with Straight. U.S. Vets right now has over $80 million of pre-development, or actually development projects going up. We have 4 buildings that are in the process of going up. Our March Air Force Base, across the street or catty corner from the commissary, we have a $46 million project going up. It's going to be 2 buildings, eventually 3 by next year, and it's going to provide close to 167 permanent housing for low-income veterans and their families. In Redlands, we have an 80-unit development going up. In the city of San Bernardino, we have 2 properties going up for a total of 59 units that will be going up. So, we thank you because I just want to tell you, you guys are partnering with Straight. Now, keep in mind, that's brick and mortar. We still need money to do the services. And so we thank you for you guys coming out tonight because it really, really helps us to do what we do. Now, I want to just end with this. The veterans we serve come from all walks of life. However, they share several fundamental qualities. Our vets possess courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication to duty and integrity. All the qualities needed to serve a cause larger than oneself. They answered the call to be part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways in extreme times. They rose to the nation's call to serve because they wanted to protect the nation, which has given them, all of you, and me so much. Tonight's dinner is a way we can honor those men and women who have sacrificed so much so that we can live in freedom. So today, you all stood up to help our veterans win the battle of homelessness. Thank you so much.
who we thank not only for their service, but also for the value that they add to our community. And they all reflect their shared values of honor, service, and support. And with that, I'd like to welcome up Thomas J., who's going to introduce our...
I have the honor of introducing our first honoree. He's from the United States Navy. His name is Aaron Quinton Siebert.
Hurrah!
I'm going to go with just Chief Siebert, if that's okay. Is that okay with you? Chief Hospital Corpsman Siebert was born August 21st, 1972 in Riverton, Wyoming. At age 18, he enlisted into the United States Navy and reported to Naval Training Center, San Diego, California. Upon completion of the Naval Training Center, he reported to Corpsman Basic A School in San Diego, where he earned the Navy Enlisted Code Basic Corpsman. In April 1992, he reported for duty at the Naval Hospital Long Beach. In May of 1993, he reported for training at the Field Medical Service School, Camp Pendleton, California, where he earned the 8404 NEC Field Medical Service Technician, Corpsman, or Doc, as he's called in the field. After a series of deployments, including Okinawa, Camp Pendleton, and the world's largest international maritime exercise known as RIMPAC, with the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit, Chief Siebert was assigned to Naval Hospital Camp Pendleton's Occupational Health Department as the Department Supply and Logistics Petty Officer and a certified hearing conservation technician. After already devoted 1/3 of his life to our nation's service, he deployed to Iraq as part of Regimental Combat Team 5 in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, where he would later serve as part of a Colonel Ted Durant's personal security detachment. On April 26, 2006, Chief Siebert was serving his 3rd tour in Iraq. On the first day of construction of patrol base, you're gonna have to forgive me, Raltib in Habaniyah, Iraq. Habaniyah. Chief Siebert was subject to an enemy mortar attack that was severely wounded. He was hit with multiple fragmentations and had to be evacuated by air to Al-Taqaddum for what was known to be the first of many surgeries. Worked closely with the PTSD Foundation of America to honor the service and sacrifice of combat veterans and wounded service members who served our country by providing vocational and recreational opportunities. These opportunities break through walls and foster an environment of healing where great memories are born and new support systems are formed. The foundation provides new motivation, camaraderie, and sparks the imagination while offering a release to cope with difficulties in a positive and therapeutic way. Chief Siebert's personal decorations include the Purple Heart, Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal, Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal with Valor and 2 gold stars, Combat Action Ribbon, Presidential Unit Citation, Joint Meritorious Service Award, Good Conduct Medal with 4 stars, National Defense Service Medal with 1 star, Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, Iraq Campaign Medal, Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Service Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Sea Service Deployment Ribbon with 2 stars. Chief Siebert is married to Robin Siebert. They have 2 children, Derek and Mariah Sprinkle. They reside in Lake Elsinore, California. Chief Siebert.
I don't know who that guy is. But no, it's quite an honor. Thanks for reading that in such an awesome manner. I mean, it's really, I had to write a lot of this back in the day when we were coming up, and a lot of things are required bios, getting out of the military, and we got to start doing a resume, start coming up with a lot of things. But going to Wounded Warrior Battalion West was probably the tip top of my career. In the sense that I was a Navy corpsman, spent all my time with the Marine Corps for the most part, and my job was to take care of Marines. When I got hit with that mortar round, I had to have Marines take care of me. And it really gave me the understanding when I was able to finally put on chief what it meant to fully involve your life into being a leader and taking care of those men and women that serve with you. And I wanted to still be able to provide that service when I stepped out of the Marine Corps and the Navy. Job that I had there at Wounded Warrior Battalion West. Getting hit with that mortar round really kind of grounded me. I put the uniform on every day for the next 5 years and knew that I was not the Superman that I was before. No longer could I deploy, pain every step that I take. Fortunately, I've been supported through a lot of support networks and the people around me, and through all the motivational stuff that I hear and deal with suicides to what we're dealing with a lot of service members being homeless, things like that. I'm very humbled. At the same time, I'm very honored that I still get to serve. I took the uniform off, but I still use it. I still put it on. I put it on a different way every day. And I get to be in Wounded Warrior Battalion West, and I get to be part of the PTSD Foundation of America, pushing forward, grabbing these guys, and hopefully giving them some new hope and memories. My strive in life is survival. A lot of guys' strive in life is suicide. And I understand that just recently from going to one of our groups. It seems like I'm always messing with this giant blob in my head trying to figure out, how I'm going to deal with life. And it was interesting that one guy said about 2 weeks ago, he says, you know what, my strive in life is survival, not suicide. My strive in life is survival, not suicide. So I'm always pushing that effort for us to take steps necessary to continue doing that. Because this country's great. The taste of freedom, for me, is very sweet. Because I left this country in battle, and all I had was the thought of freedom for a long time. I carried a can of soda with me for 42 days before I cracked that thing open. And I put it in a sock just to cool it down with some water so the evaporation process took place. And I called some of my buddies over right after digging a fighting hole, and we popped that thing open, and it was the best soda I've ever had. So coming back to America, it seems like our freedoms are so free that they almost look like we're abusing those freedoms. But you can't abuse freedom. So I finally has to put it in a way that I can understand it. And the way that hopefully our combat vets understand it. Because the burden of combat's mine, so America can carry on today. And I have to be good with that, because that's just the way it goes. So I'm honored to be here with you guys tonight. I'm honored to be helping out our combat vets still and doing something that's still part of who I am. But thanks for everything. And for you Guardians of Freedom, thank you for your service. Thanks for all you guys and what you've done. You stepped up to the plate, took the oath, and defended this country. I know the challenges, so strength and honor to you.
Chief Margot. So, Chief, we just have a couple of tokens of our appreciation for your service, past, present, and
Thank you both for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your support. Our next honoree is U.S. Marine Corps Staff Sergeant James Gallardi. Southern California named Staff Sergeant Gallardi has dedicated his life to his faith, our nation, and his family. The product of generations of Navy veterans, including his grandfather, father, and uncle, he grew up listening to stories of camaraderie and heroism. But it was the accounts of his uncle, a veteran of the brutal, hard-scrambled battle of Chosin Reservoir, and the Spartan culture of the Marine Corps that made him want to, as the hymn suggests, quote, claim the title of the United States Marine. So after studying for 2 years to be a veterinarian at Cal Poly Pomona, 1966-67, Jim enlisted at age 19 in the United States Marine Corps. He reported for training aboard Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego, where he completed boot camp under the guidance of some early Vietnam veterans who, since the enemy couldn't kill them, were tasked with preparing the young recruits. He completed basic infantry training and demonstrated the aptitude of marksmanship that ultimately led to his selection for the basic Marine Scout sniper course. Far from being a basic course, as the name might suggest, the Scout sniper training program is the most difficult the United States military has to offer, and despite the rigorous selection process, has a failure rate of around 60%. Staff Sergeant Gallardi completed the course in 1967, followed by the basic jungle survival course in the Philippines. In January 1968, he deployed with the 1st Marine Division to the Republic of Vietnam. Just 25 days after arriving in Vietnam, Gallardi had been assigned to the Quezon San Fire Base in support of the 26th Marine Regiment, 3rd Marine Division, when the Tet Offensive began. During one of the assaults on Quezon Fire Base, he was wounded by enemy mortar fire. After 5 weeks of rehabilitation in Guam, he convinced the corpsman to transfer him back to Okinawa so he could rejoin his Marine Scout Sniper Platoon, 7th Marine Regiment, 1st Marine Division, and deployed to Hill 55, 10 miles southwest of Da Nang. In 1969, he was once again wounded by grenade shrapnel that broke his collar, broke his shoulder and his leg, so he was evacuated to Yokosuka Naval Hospital for another 5 weeks of rehabilitation. Again, he managed to sneak back to his unit despite having earned a second Purple Heart. Redeploying to the I Corps of South Vietnam in 1970, he was wounded a third time, this time by an enemy grenade. He was medevac to the Naval Hospital in Hawaii for the first nearly 9 months of rehabilitation. Despite his efforts to return to Vietnam, the medical staff realized that he was going to try again to rejoin his unit. So he was transferred home to the Naval Hospital San Diego and discharged from the Marine Corps. After having difficulty, like many of his peers, to transition back to civilian life, Staff Sergeant Velarde received some assistance in career counseling from local police who saw him struggling. He began a new career with the city of San Clemente, beginning as a gardener and ultimately serving as a police officer. He was a federal employee from 1988 to 1990, then worked for the city of Oceanside from 1990 to 97, where he designed the badge worn by the Oceanside Police Department since 1994. He has volunteered with the School of Infantry Basic Sniper Course at Camp Pendleton since 1991, with the Wounded Warrior Battalion since 2007, and with the legacy of the Marine Corps Boot Camp since 2009. He is a board member of 2 nonprofit military service organizations. Staff Sergeant Velarde's personal decorations include Bronze Star Medal with V device for valor, 3 Purple Hearts, Combat Action Ribbon, Presidential Unit Citation, Navy Unit Citation, Meritorious Unit Citation, 2 Vietnamese Cross Gallantry Medals, Silver Star with Palm. When asked, if she asked me to go back, I'm sure you've been in this country, I'd go back in a heartbeat. And I know most of my patriots that are out there listening to this, yeah, we bitch, moan, groan, and complain. But if America said, I need a little help, we'd fill the buses. He is the proud father of 4 adult children, Anthony, Angelina, Andrew, and Allison. He resides in the San Diego area with his wife Charlene. They have 5 grandsons and 1 granddaughter.
I lost 8 partners in my job. But we did our job because we saved lives. We were a team of 2 that would disappear in the jungle and obviously harass the enemy and get the information that was needed to our grunt Marines to do operations. And they're no different than my warriors that are here sitting with us today. And to you, I say thank you. Thank you so much for your service and holding that pass at Thermopylae. But when it was my turn, I answered the call and never been sorry. So giving back to help my comrades was like a no-brainer. My Iraqi and Afghan comrades needed assistance. Our generations were different. And they just needed a little bit of help. We had to stop the suicide rate from climbing, and we were trying to figure out what was going on. And I'm not sure it was because of an easier life for this generation compared to our generation, where if mom and dad said something and you weren't fast enough, the shoe got you. And where with this generation, you know, mom and dad couldn't throw the shoe. And it had to be with timeout or please or I just forget it, I think you'll come home someday. And so I'm just not sure. But in either case, we have stepped up and Tom Seaver and I trying to make a difference for these folks and trying to get them to transition back into life to realize how much life is worth. And thanks to you and my patriots out there who are here tonight giving and supporting and continue to support. You're in the fight just like us. Just like the Commandant said one time was, we're still in the fight, we just wore a different uniform. So, and I know 15 years has been a long time since we've been engaged, but terrorism is going to be one of those things it's going to be hard to deal with. And we're probably going to have to go a few more years to put this thing into check and be able to walk away and make it count. But in either case, having Americans like yourselves out there supporting is obviously half the battle, which we realize as patriots out here, that it's nice to have support at home because I don't have to look behind me. I don't have to worry about what's behind me because I know it's Americans. I come from a generation of Vietnam, and luckily, just by luck, I was in the hospital system, so I was protected from Americans, throwing and spitting and doing the things that my comrades had to endure. But here tonight, this is my welcome home, and I sure thank you. It was worth the fight, and it was definitely worth coming here tonight. So, to you Americans, I say thank you.
Thank you.
Is from the United States Navy. Pearl Harbor survivor Robert Marone. And I wanted to say I was honored to be asked to read this tonight. Our own Mike Terry prepared this biography, very close to Roger, and it was very close to him. It was hard for him, so I took over for him. So tonight, let's tell the tale of our third honoree, Roger Wilbert Marone, a Pearl Harbor survivor and World War II sailor who gave 6 years of his life to face the greatest existential threat to the freedom the world had ever faced. In West Roger was born, also known as Rubidoux. His family home is still on display along Michigan Boulevard. After graduating from Old Poly High School in 1939, now Riverside City College, Roger enlisted in the U.S. Navy the following October. Marone completed boot camp in San Diego and was sent to Pearl Harbor, a naval base on the island of Oahu among the beautiful Hawaiian Islands. Life was easy in paradise for Roger as an electrician's mate, where escaping the shore patrol was a major concern after his buddies tasted too much local distilled spirit. Roger always seemed to be the guy who picked up after his shipmates got into trouble, often offering his meager pay to cover damages caused by others. Pearl Harbor was soon to see damage on an entirely different level. On the evening of December 6, 1941, Roger was on duty as an electrician's mate, running a movie projector to show the latest Hollywood film. A battle of the bands had taken place earlier that evening with musical ensembles from each battleship, doing their best to entertain sailors and civilians alike. A peaceful life in an idyllic setting that was about to change forever. The next morning, December 7, 1941, a date then President Roosevelt later proclaimed that will live in infamy, Roger was awakened by a fellow sailor who simply said, "They're here." Roger knew what that meant. From their berth on shore, Roger and his buddies rushed outside in time to see the USS Oklahoma roll over at its mooring. killing many fellow seamen. Planes were attacking seemingly everywhere. Chaos reigned. Roger was quickly assigned to the USS Pennsylvania, then in dry dock for much-needed repairs. Men were assigned to fight the Japanese using any guns available to them, the Pennsylvania being one of the first ships to return fire that fateful day. Roger was ordered to bring munitions to one of these guns. When it was discovered that he was an electrician's mate, Marone was reassigned to go below deck as part of a repair party to restore functionality to the ship, while also addressing any battle damage that may occur. While waiting for an assignment, Roger and his fellow damage control crew felt a deep shudder and heard a sound they would never forget. The Pennsylvania had received a direct hit. The crew running a 5-inch, 130 millimeter gun mount was wiped out when a bomb struck the starboard side of her boat deck and exploded inside casemate 9, the same gun that moments before Roger Marone was supplying with ammunition. Upon return to the mainland after the attack, Roger witnessed long lines of sailors, many covered in black oil from damaged ships, others wearing only underwear as they lined up for food or medical aid, a scene Roger never forgot. Marone was later assigned to a repair ship, the USS Medusa, where he spent the balance of World War II repairing damages caused in battle. Chief Electrician's mate Roger Marone left the Navy in October of 1945 to find a job with Cal Electric, eventually Southern California Edison. Roger married the love of his life, Mildred Fisher, soon after mustering out. Roger was an active and happy man, being married for 70 years to his beloved Millie, raising 3 children, Kathy, Lori, and William. They collected a total of 5 grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren somewhere along the way. Active in the Boy Scouts of America and Parkview Hospital's hospice program, Roger touched the lives of many people, including a number of people at tonight's dinner. Millie, the lover of Roger's wife, passed on in November of 2015. Roger did his best to make it here to be recognized for his many achievements, but time knows no equal. 17 days ago, on September 15, 2017, Roger Marone died from complications of old age after living 97 years in the service of others. Humble and kind to no end, Roger was mourned by many at Riverside National Cemetery, where he joined Millie for eternity. Family, friends, blue-collar workers, Boy Scouts, healthcare professionals, military professionals, educators, fellow veterans, a true cross-section of America showed up to pay their final respects to Roger Marone. Dad, Grandpa, Uncle, Bunky, or simply the greatest guy on earth, Roger will be missed.
That we've raised. And I also want to recognize and bring Mike Terry back up. Mike's the president of the Night for Veterans, and it's actually a 501c3 nonprofit that organized tonight's dinner. And I want to have Mike say a few words. Mike.
So tonight's dinner started as an idea several years ago, right out on the patio when the Canyon Crest Country Club had a cigar dinner. And PJ and myself, the Coxes, and a few other people were sitting there, and it became apparent that we needed to do something to help veterans. Some of those folks are veterans, some of us are civilians. All of us had a keen passion for action, not words. So we decided to have yet another cigar dinner. That first cigar dinner, anytime you have a first event, you figure if you just break even, you're doing well. We had outside, Sheriff Stan Sniff gave a keynote address, and somehow miraculously we raised $10,000 on the very first time we got together. Last year, we were greatly honored to have the Honorable Judge Mark Johnson. Mark, please stand up. Come on, stand up. It was at our event, emceed by the lovely and just fantastic human being, Ron Richmond. And we raised $25,000 in our second try.
Yeah, you beat Stan Smith all day. So this year we tried something different, and we thought, as opposed to having a keynote address, let's hear from some other guys. Let's honor heroes. I think that's going to be our model going forward. Each year we're going to select 3 veterans that match our motto of honor, service, and support. Just so happens that I got an update on the monies that we raised for tonight. And because of a pass-through that we got from Wells Fargo to the tune of $35,000, on top of their already generous $5,000 donation. And then the money that you folks get to take off on your tax forms, the part of your dinner that you get, which is roughly $50 per person, we're over $50,000 in net worth. There's so many people to thank. I'd like to give a big shout out to the Canyon Crest Country Club for putting on a wonderful dinner tonight. That was the most moist rubber chicken I've had at one of these events. It was really quite good. I'd like to thank recording artist and lovely human being, Lizanne Warner, for being here tonight. We have the honor guard from the Riverside Police Department and the Riverside Fire Department who have been with us, so thank you very much to them as well. There's a couple of guys outside that have been working hard to make sure you have a great experience. One of them is Scott Corey, a representative of Wicks Brewing Company, strong supporters of veterans. The other is Ahmed Mera, the owner-proprietor of the Helios Cigar Lounge, strong supporter of veterans. Let's give it up for those guys. Speaking of which, the beer is free, and the bar will remain open, and cigars and brandy after this event is concluded, I think, are at the top of my agenda. But also, I'd like to thank the persons who have worked so hard to put this together. You may see some of them running around with little things on them. Mike Elderman, the photographer of Riverside. If you see Mike, you know it's a good event. And also the steering committee for this particular event, if you guys would stand and be recognized. I'm not going to give all your names, but if you're on the steering committee, stand up. Not my names. Stand up. Good job, people. Good job. What would a gathering like this be if it wasn't for the UCR Pipe Band providing bagpipe music by Pipe Sergeant Robbie Conacher? Good job, Robbie. We have so many people to thank, but I think the ones that we need to thank the most are you. If it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for our sponsors, we wouldn't keep doubling all the time. Eddie Estrada tells me about Houston, and how Houston has this great grassroots organization just like us. And Houston, who's undergone such horrific times recently, correct? Their U.S. Vets group annually brings in about $102,000 to $103,000. Well, if our first year we brought in 10, you know where I'm going. Second year, 25. This year, 50. Where are we going to be next year? With your help, we can double down again.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. None of us that do this a lot of us spend a lot of our money because I challenged our committee. If you ask for money from other people, you give money first, and they all did. Time, treasure, and talent. They're all doing a wonderful job. I'd like to invite those who are interested in helping us in next year's event. I know there's some of you, veterans and civilians alike, who have expressed interest to maybe some of the steering committee. Hey, I'd like to be a part of this success. I want to do something to get those guys out of the hills, literally, and bring them to the U.S. Vets facility. I want to get that guy that's on the freeway on-ramp off that corner and get him to because he has a family that needs to be there too. If you want to help,
see me, see Matt, see the guys with the fedoras and suspenders. Even that gentleman right there, you know, refer him to us because you look so good. And we're going to help you to get involved. Thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you, Mike. So that concludes the indoor portion of our ceremony, but we have another excellent part that is sort of the second part of this. And, you know, if you haven't seen a flag retirement ceremony, it's a really special thing. And we have a number of Boy Scouts and Adventure Crew members that are here with us tonight that are going to lead us with that. And I'd like to ask Riverside City Fire Battalion, again, Chief Thomas J. to come forward and lead us in tribute. But before we do that, we have two last silent auction bid forms that have been done here this evening. We'll get started in just a few minutes.
Right here.
Honey, did you buy her mom a Chardonnay?
Oh, so yeah, better.
And she wants a Chardonnay.
It's that cut and dry.
Come through!
Face automatically?
Yep, face automatically.